So, Mr. Sears, you're not yet on my list, so I'm going to need your P number real quick. So this is in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Shane Leroy Raymer. Leroy or Leroy?
Leroy.
Yep, okay, I like Leroy. File number 23-21665FH. I have Brenda Underwood, P41009, appearing on behalf of the defendant, and I have Dan Gumtoe, but state your full name and your P number, please.
Your Honor, Nicholas Sears on behalf of people. Nicholas Andrew Sears. I am appearing under Michigan Court Rule 8.120, I believe, which is the observation of waiting for my bar results.
Okay, very good. All right, you had your hand up?
Yes, I fired her due to misrepresentation.
When did you fire her?
Over 2 weeks ago.
Was that in front of me?
No, that was in her office but the reason I fired her.
Well, do you have another attorney?
I will represent myself.
You're going to represent yourself.
Yes.
You know, there's a very famous quote about representing yourself. Do you understand that?
Yes.
That, do you have a law degree?
Right from the jump, this courtroom session spirals into chaos. Shane Raymer, facing serious charges, makes a bold move, firing his attorney on the spot, accusing the system of corruption. When the judge presses him on his qualifications, legal degree, college education, even a high school diploma, Shane shrugs it off with, "I don't need that." The arrogance is off the charts, and the tension skyrockets. The courtroom watches in disbelief as Shane turns his case into a spectacle. This isn't just defiance, it's a reckless gamble. He's not playing by the rules, and the only question is, how far will he take it before everything crumbles?
I don't need
Do you have a college degree?
I don't need a law degree.
Did you graduate from high school?
I don't need that either.
You don't need that to represent yourself? Okay. Do you have access to? Okay. So,
I have evidence that shows that the description did not match.
Well, I'm not going to get into that yet. So you're asking me today to remove Miss Underwood as your attorney,
Yes.
and you want to represent yourself.
If I
Do you understand that even when I have court cases, I hire an attorney to represent me?
Well, I can't trust anybody in this system, in this area, because they all seem to be working together. This case should have been resolved a long time ago during the appeal the first time. She should have objected when the claim was made that I matched that description 100%.
Okay, so Mr. Raymer, part of what you're saying shows to me that you don't quite understand how the court procedures work, okay? So your attorney has an obligation to ethically represent you. And so before, I would have clients come to me and say, I want you to file this and I want you to file that. And I would say, there's no basis for that. And I don't file frivolous motions, or I would say to them they have probable cause or whatever. So if you want to represent yourself, you can do that at your own risk. You have the right to represent yourself. But what I will tell you is that Miss Underwood is the bane of most prosecutors' existence, because she's a little pit bull and she doesn't put up with a lot of guff from them, and she's a tough defense attorney. So you may not like what she says, but I feel like she's always honest. So that being said,
The judge steps in, calm, measured, but unwavering. She lays out the facts, but Shane isn't listening. He's convinced the system is rigged against him, determined to go it alone because he trusts no one. The judge warns him. His attorney is a fierce fighter, a pit bull in the courtroom, but Shane refuses to reconsider. Then reality crashes down. He thought today was his trial, but he skipped the pre-trial, triggering the judge to cancel his jury trial and issue a bench warrant. Just like that, his defense crumbles before it even begins. The defiance that once fueled him, now it's pure disaster. He's not battling corruption, he's battling his own mistakes. And with every misstep, the walls close in tighter.
you can represent yourself, you can. But you understand you're going to have to file written motions. You're going to have to follow the court rules.
This is the trial, right?
No, it's a pre-trial.
How is this not the trial? I was told this is going to be the trial. I'm supposed to be facing it. I'm supposed to be sitting here with a jury today.
No, you're not.
Yes,
Mr. Raymer, I schedule jury trials and I haven't scheduled you a jury trial yet. Oh, wait. You're the one that didn't show for the pre-trial. That's why. Is that why?
Your Honor, if I could speak
Yes.
for a second. I think the first thing we need to do.
I'm sorry.
is the bench warrant.
Yes, so Mr. Raymer, you
Mr.
failed,
Raymer.
yeah, he failed to appear for the pretrial conference.
That's correct.
All right, so everybody stop talking for a minute. So Ms. Underwood, thank you for reminding me of that. Mr. Raymer, you had a final pretrial conference on December 11th, and we gave you a notice of hearing, and you failed to appear for that pretrial. And because you failed to appear for that pretrial, I canceled the jury trial because it cost me a lot of money to have a jury here. And so if you're not here for the final pretrial, I'm not going to trial until I get you here. So I actually issued a bench warrant for your arrest for failure to appear for the pretrial. Do you understand that? So Ms. Underwood's now asking for me to set aside that bench warrant. Is that what you said?
Thank you, Your Honor. He did demonstrate to the court that he can show up by showing up this morning.
Okay. So Mr. Raymer, so Ms. Underwood's asking me for me to set aside the bench warrant for your failure to appear on December 11th. Do you understand that? Speak.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And Mr. Sears, any objection to me setting aside the bench warrant since he has appeared today?
No, Your Honor.
All right. So Mr. Raymer, I will quash that bench warrant. And I'm sorry, I didn't look back to see that this was the original trial date. So that's my procedure. If people don't show up for a pretrial, I set the jury trial as the pretrial. Okay? Do you understand that? So that's why there's no jury.
Yes or no?
I did answer that.
So we're recording, so we have to hear you. So you have to speak up really loud, okay?
I said yes, ma'am.
Louder.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, Mr. Raymer,
The judge doesn't hold back. Shane's no-show at the pretrial wasted time, money, and his own shot at a jury trial. This is how the system works, and now he's facing the consequences. But in a rare act of leniency, the judge quashes the bench warrant since he at least showed up today. Then comes the real wake-up call. If he fires his lawyer, there's no backup. No new public defender, no safety net. It's all or nothing. Still, Shane digs in, refusing to back down. The courtroom's mood shifts from frustration to disbelief. This isn't a legal battle. It's self-sabotage unfolding in real time. He thinks he's taking charge, but really, he's cutting off every escape route. The crash is coming, and the only person speeding toward disaster is Shane himself.
so Ms. Underwood and Mr. Sears, this is a date and time set for pretrial. Mr. Raymer, I have your attorneys did file all the paperwork. Ms. Underwood, do you want to speak to Mr. Raymer for a moment?
Your Honor, I'm not sure that would do any good.
Okay. So,
If
Mr.
Mr. Raymer would like to speak to me, I am more than happy to speak to Mr. Raymer at this point.
So I'm going to quash the bench warrant. Mr. Raymer, if you want to sit down and talk with Ms. Underwood and see if you can meet a common ground, I would highly recommend that. You know, if you want to take 5 minutes or 10 minutes and talk to her, you can do that.
She's not been representing me appropriately.
All right. So do you understand you don't get another public defender?
Well, I fired her and I talked to this man. Are you Mr. Glacier?
No, that's Mr. Glazer.
Who was it that was in the office with us?
That was
That
me.
is Mr. Malero.
Okay, Mr. Malero and her why was he in the office when?
'Cause he's-
in the,
All right. So, Mr. Raymer, if you are firing Miss Underwood, or I can grant that, but I don't have the ability to appoint another public defender to represent you.
No,
They are a separate entity.
If I can't get somebody to represent me that's doing the job appropriately, then I will represent myself. Because I can prove that I was not that person that they're claiming.
That's what a jury trial's for.
Yeah, and when it comes to the jury trial, then I will take care of it there. But I don't need somebody that's not gonna represent me appropriately.
Okay, well, I really doubt that she is inappropriately representing you, but, so Mr. Glazer and Mr. Malaro, he's asking for me to, he's asking to fire Miss Underwood, so,
If I may, Your Honor.
yes?
Your Honor, I vetted Mr. Raymer's claims about Ms. Underwood's representation. My understanding, she conducted a preliminary examination. She also filed a motion to dismiss, I believe, that was heard and ruled on by this court. I have not determined that she's done anything that did not require.
The judge gives Shane one last chance to reconsider, but he won't budge. He's convinced he can win on his own. The public defender's office responds bluntly. They've done everything by the book. Motions were filed, evidence was reviewed, and nothing was mishandled. Shane just doesn't like the reality of his case. The judge makes it official. His attorney is dismissed, and now he's fully responsible for his defense. That means filing motions, handling jury selection, and navigating courtroom rules, none of which he knows how to do. The courtroom isn't just tense, it's in shock. Shane thinks he's proving a point, but in reality, he's walking straight into disaster. His best shot at a fair trial is gone, and now he's free-falling with no one to catch him. This isn't strategy. It's self-destruction, and the worst part. He's the only one who doesn't see it.
Was not required of her. And so I denied Mr. Raymer's request to appoint a new attorney. For one of the reasons was that a trial date was imminent and it would be almost impossible for any attorney to get up to speed. Ms. Underwood is clearly ready to go to trial on this case. I think, as the court, I think, is aware, Mr. Raymer just doesn't like what he hears. So that is the reason I denied his request to have another attorney appointed in this manner, because Ms. Underwood's doing everything she can do on his behalf.
So, Mr. Raymer, I guess I would ask, she held a preliminary exam, which is what you do to dispute the charges, and the judge ruled, whoever heard this, that there was probable cause and bound you over, right? Yes?
Yes, Your Honor.
And then she filed a motion to dismiss, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And I denied that.
Yeah, because you was.
What else is she supposed to do?
You was given false information. All she had to do is object and let it be known that I did not match the description of the person.
That's for a jury to decide.
No, that's for the.
Okay, well, I'm glad that you were trying to explain the law to me. So if you do not want her as your attorney, I will remove her
Yes,
as your
I do not
attorney.
want her as my attorney.
All right, so Ms. Underwood, you are relieved of your duties. So Mr. Raymer, you can either hire an attorney or proceed as you are. So I will get another jury trial date. Mr. Raymer, you will need to file with the court jury instructions and voir dire questions. And those are going to need to be filed by a certain date.
And how do I go about doing that?
I can't tell you because I can't give legal advice. That's why you had an attorney. So you're going to have to figure that out on your own.
Okay, well.
I can't give you legal advice as a judge.
That's all right.
That's what Miss Underwood was for.
But she wasn't doing her job.
She did do her job.
No, she
But-
failed.
I'm not going to argue with Mr. Raymer. So Miss Adams, I'm looking for a trial date.
Shane's crash course in self-representation just turned brutal. The judge lays it out. Jury instructions, motions, evidence lists, all must be filed on time with zero help from the court. He asks how to do it, and she shuts it down. I can't give legal advice. Then comes the real shock, the plea deal. 2 misdemeanors instead of felonies, including assaulting an officer. A way out. But Shane? He won't even consider it. He's too locked into proving the system wrong, blind to the fact that he's outmatched. No plan, no legal knowledge, just sheer defiance. And the risk? Prison time. He's not building a defense. He's setting himself up for failure. The judge gave him an escape and he threw it away. Now every misstep brings him closer to a verdict he won't like. Time isn't on his side. The law is moving forward, and Shane's running straight into disaster.
And so those must be filed with, you must provide a copy to the prosecutor's office of your voir dire questions and jury instructions, and a copy to the court on the 3rd floor of the clerk's office.
And that can be wrote out on a blank piece of paper?
No, they must be provided in full and filled out.
Okay, where would I go to get those forms?
There, you can do research on the computer. I mean, this is why, Mr. Raymer, when you're dealing with a felony and you're facing trial,
Yeah.
it's important to have an attorney. And it doesn't
One
sound,
that's doing their job, yes, I understand that.
well, you haven't presented anything to me that says she hasn't done what she's supposed to do so far. So, Mr. Reamer, you know, there's no legal services available for indigent defendants other than the public defender's office. And, you know, you could hire an attorney, but these things are required. If you don't file them, then you don't get to add them the day of trial. Do you understand that?
What is that, the evidence? I don't get to add any evidence during the day of trial?
Well, you must submit it as exhibits and witness lists. Have you got to exchange those with the?
All the body cam would be considered already submitted, correct?
So you have to provide witness lists and a list of exhibits to the prosecutor's office, to my office, and then you must provide copies of that to them.
And where do I find your office at?
Third floor clerk's office.
Okay.
Okay, but then you have to provide a copy to the prosecutor too.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll probably head over there for you.
But by law, Mr. Reamer, I can't give legal advice because I'm a judge.
Yes, sure.
Okay. So, Ms. Adams, could I please get a copy of this from Mr. Reamer? And I'm gonna put little asterisks. Do you want Mr. Reamer's file? Are you sure you do not want to proceed with counsel?
I would prefer to have counsel, but I don't want her representing me.
Okay, well, that's your choice, but your other option is to hire someone. Thank you. All right,
The final countdown begins. The judge locks in the trial date, April 22nd, spelling out every legal step Shane must take. Deadlines for filings, evidence submissions, and witness disclosures. No lawyer, no safety net. He insists he doesn't need his fired attorney, but admits he'd prefer representation. Too late. His own choices sealed his fate. The judge warns him once more. Miss a deadline and you forfeit your rights at trial. This isn't strategy, it's self-destruction. Shane set the trap, and now he's walking straight into it. The courtroom isn't watching a fight for justice. It's witnessing a man unravel in real time. And every mistake, permanent, on record, and inching him closer to disaster.